Could Brayan Bello end up back in the Red Sox starting rotation at some point this season?
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. I'm your host, Gabby Maljanian, and today's episode is brought to you by Kalshi. For a limited time, download the Kalshi app and use code LOCKEDON to get $10 when you trade $10. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to the show. What a game it was for the Red Sox last night. Just an absolute onslaught of the Arizona Diamondbacks in an 11-1 win. And this was definitely a game worth watching. Going to talk a little bit about that on today's show, including Wyatt Olds making an appearance out of the bullpen. How much can the Red Sox rely on Jake Bennett moving forward? And could we see Brayan Bello back in the starting rotation at some point? So obviously the Red Sox offense was a huge storyline in last night's game. 16 hits as a team. Every single player in the lineup besides Andrew Monasterio recorded at least one hit in this game. And even he drove in a run still on a sacrifice fly. So it was a big night offensively for the Red Sox, and they had 0 strikeouts for the first time since April 2010. First time since then that the Red Sox did not strike out at all in a 9-inning game. And it was refreshing because the old offensive philosophy saw a lot of pressing, lots of guys trying to be the hero, and it resulted in lots of swings and misses. And usually we get guys who just have very poor at-bats, and they end up striking out and swinging at pitches they shouldn't be swinging at. But nobody recorded a strikeout in last night's game, which was pretty phenomenal. And they're the first MLB team to have all 9 starters collect an RBI with none of them striking out since they did it themselves against the St. Louis Browns on June 25th, 1949. So the Red Sox definitely made history in this game. But one of the biggest storylines as well, on top of the offense, was the fact that Brayan Bello once again had a stellar outing out of the bullpen. Alec Gamboa started the game through 1 1/3 innings, giving up no hits, no runs with 1 strikeout. He threw just 14 pitches, 10 of them going for strikes. He was highly effective pitching into the second inning. Then they brought Brayan Bello in, who recorded the win in this game, going 4 2/3 innings, giving up 3 hits and just 1 earned run with 1 walk and 3 strikeouts. He had 1 inning where he dealt with a little bit of base traffic, but he was able to get out of it with very little trouble. So Brayan Bello in the pen continues to dominate. This is a guy who historically has been on a crazy tear out of the pen. Now, the biggest thing with Brayan Bello and his historic success is that he's had an ERA under 1 in his relief outings since returning from AAA. He's proven to be unhittable when deployed past the first inning. Now, the first inning for him is a different story. His disastrous 10-plus ERA as a traditional starter earlier in the year proved that the first inning is where his outings routinely unravel. So the Red Sox concluded that he just should not be pitching in the first inning. So using an opener like a bullpen day setup gets him clean, low-stress bridges into the game without having to expose him to that early inning breakdown that we saw a lot of the time in the first inning. So Brayan Bello out of the pen has been nothing short of dominance, and it's no mystery that that's the case. And he's been bouncing back in that bulk inning relief role with a vengeance for sure. So there's been a question of should he be given a chance to start again. It's all but certain that there will be starts in his future. He is signed through 2029, so that gives the Red Sox a while to figure out if they want to give him another shot in the rotation. But his usage for the remainder of this season, including into the playoffs, to me, seems fairly obvious because you want to keep him where he is because it's working brilliantly. Once again, following an opener this time around, he just came up big for the Red Sox, and it just was proven once again that this is the perfect role for him. Of his 76 pitches, 50 were for strikes, and then obviously behind Bello and an offense that came alive, the Red Sox were able to shake off a 2-7 stretch with a dominant win. While Bello is still a starter at heart, the question was posed to him after his latest strong effort out of the bullpen was, do you like it? And he said, it's working. And that was a perfectly appropriate answer, because for teams aiming to get into the postseason, which the Red Sox are currently in a strong position to do with a record of 67-58, this is the time of year when players start to look beyond their own preferences and buying into what the team is trying to do. And Brayan Bello knows that this is working for him. So therefore, he's like, all right, maybe we should keep it as is. And Chad Tracy said it's been great. I think obviously it was well documented how the beginning of the year went for him, the frustrations and that he believes he's a starter. We still think that, but he's in a really good place as far as accepting the role and knowing he's not only accepting the role, but he's going out there and helping us win in that role. And that's a good place for him to be. In his 11 relief appearances this season, he's 4-0 with a .85 ERA to be exact and 1 save. His first 4 relief outings were when the Red Sox were going back and forth with him from the rotations. Things have truly changed since he returned from that 5-week demotion to AAA Worcester, where he also was proving to be effective. He was called back up on the final Sunday before the All-Star break and bought his team time for a stirring comeback at Citi Field by giving them 4 1/3 strong frames in relief. And that's when people started to feel like, okay, we kind of know this is the role that he should be in. And he's been a reliever in all 7 outings since returning from Worcester, walking 4 and striking out 23 and 27 1/3 innings, while holding opponents to a 189 average and a 495 OPS. And for Tracy to have a weapon like Bello is turning into has been a significant development. He said huge. We've talked a lot about the starters and how do we do things to be able to get them more rest. And we saw tonight, opener Alec Gamboa was awesome. 4 hitters, gets them all out. Bello comes in and gives us length and sets it up for the backside of the bullpen. Hugely important. And he's been very, very good in that role for a while now. And the reason Bello's effectiveness in that role is so vital right now is because the Red Sox have 2 rookie left-handers who have already surpassed their career high in innings in Peyton Tolley and Jake Bennett. So naturally, those guys might start to get a little bit more fatigued. And with the Sox in the midst of playing 16 straight days without a day off, the ability to set up a day like last night when Bello could be a big part of the mix was definitely super helpful. His appearance last night came with 7 days of rest, which made his stuff really play up. He averaged 96.5 miles per hour with his sinker, and his velo has truly been much better in the new role. His teammates have noticed that also. Wilson Contreras said, I don't know where he was at the beginning of the season. His stuff is crazy good. I mean, he's throwing 98 consistently. The sinker is moving well. He's executing to get to 2 strikes. And then with 2 strikes, he's going even better. And tonight was one of those nights that he came out executing every pitch. It's truly a loss for worse type of situation compared to earlier this season when he went 1-6 with a 10.35 ERA and 8 starts. And he's been able to gather himself and say, I feel happy and proud to be able to help the team every time they give me the ball, and I'm able to perform and give my team a chance to win. So clearly he's found a role that he should be in, and they shouldn't try to move him back into the starting rotation. And the reason that's becoming a conversation is because Patrick Sandoval may be finding himself back on the IL or removed from the rotation due to recent struggles. The Red Sox weekend series against the Pirates was concerning on a number of levels, and dropping 2 of 3 was obviously not ideal, especially with Masataka Yoshida and Justin Slaten also going on the IL. And Boston fell behind big in games 1 and 3 of this series because they got brutal starting pitching performances for Jake Bennett and Patrick Sandoval. those bad starts were kind of a continuation of a concerning recent trend because both of them have been struggling as of late. The Red Sox had won the first 5 games that Sandoval started this season after coming off the injured list post Tommy John surgery, and that trend changed on Tuesday of this week when he allowed 4 earned runs over 6 innings up in Toronto. The Red Sox ended up losing that game, and he took the loss. And he didn't look terrible. I mean, 8 hits, 4 runs, but only 2 of them being earned, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts over 6 innings. So obviously that tells more of the story of how things went for him. Obviously they only charged 2 of the runs to him, but he was giving up a lot of base traffic. So he still didn't look overly stellar in that outing. But then his start against the Pirates was a lot worse. The Red Sox lost 8-3. Patrick Sandoval took the loss. He lasted just 4 innings, giving up 9 hits, 7 earned runs with 3 walks and 6 strikeouts, 89 pitches, 58 strikes with a 4.76 ERA now on the season. So that was a rough outing for him. He came into the game with an ERA of 3.3 and left it at that 4.76. Despite striking out 6 batters, there was just never a point in which it seemed like he had control of the situation. So in a vacuum, the Red Sox can handle one of their starters going through a slump, but Jake Bennett's also been struggling for a while now, and I'm going to be talking about him a little bit on today's show too. The Red Sox need their starters going deep into games right now. It's Slaten and Garrett Whitlock on the IL, and the fact that they're in this stretch where they don't have a day off until Thursday. And it's not like Sandoval has overpowering stuff. So him being on an in-season downturn right now is reason for real concern because he cannot be weighing you down right now. And it appears that he'll end up being responsible for a couple of the Red Sox 7 losses in August. So it's obviously not ideal, but an injury could be playing a part in that. And that's something also to think about because Sandoval apparently has been battling a blister on his left foot for most of the year, which is the foot he uses to push off the rubber. So if he goes on the L or is just bumped from the rotation for underperformance, that's where Brayan Bello could come in and end up back in the rotation because this situation that Sandoval is battling, the Red Sox are going to want to be cautious with it. They don't want to end up with a situation where they're out a starter for a playoff run. So if he goes on the IL, they might have to send Brayan Bello back to the rotation, but he's absolutely thriving in his relief role right now. So bringing him back into the rotation would be tough because it could ruin the rhythm. He's just completely reinvented himself as a pitcher, and his confidence is a lot higher right now in the multi-inning relief role. So if they move him back into the rotation, they could throw that off and bring back all of his first inning struggles, which could have a longer term effect on his confidence and ultimately then his performance. And the stretch run needs to be a priority right now too, because the Red Sox are locked in a tight AL wild card race and need guaranteed outs over developmental experiments right now. So if they bring Brayan Bello back into the rotation, that could throw off the Red Sox chances at clinching a playoff spot, because ultimately the priority right now should be winning however possible. And if Brayan Bello's current role is working for him, I'm keeping him there. And I would almost rather give somebody in AAA a chance in the rotation if Patrick Sandoval is going to have to be on the IL, as opposed to having Bello go back into the rotation, because he seems to be in the perfect spot for him. So we'll have to monitor that situation. To me, keep Bello in his role. And if Patrick Sandoval has to go on the IL, figure something else out. But Bello totally has reinvented himself. And coming up, what's going on with Jake Bennett? And is this cause for concern? A big thank you to our friends over at Amazon for this limited break. This back to school season, you can spend less on your kids with Amazon. We all know how crazy the back to school shopping experience can be, because it truly starts with just a few items on your list, and then suddenly you're shopping for a lot of other things that you didn't even see coming. So it does add up fast. When your kid spends days of planning the perfect first day of school outfit because they want to make a great first impression, you end up putting almost as much thought into it as they do. At least the first day photos are worth it. Or there's when the school says your child needs a calculator or headphones or a tablet for class, and somehow you're buying yet another one before the semester is halfway over. Since when did kids need so much technology for third grade? So remember, with Amazon's low back-to-school prices, just spend less on your kids because every dollar you don't spend on them is a dollar you haven't spent on them. Shop back to school at Amazon and spend less on your kids. Save money. Why not? With Amazon today. Well, the Red Sox completely manhandled the Diamondbacks last night in 11-1 fashion, and it was a great way to come back after what was a rough series over the weekend against the Pirates. And that started with a Friday night loss that resulted in the Pirates taking the win by the score of 8-4. And Jake Bennett started that game for the Red Sox, and he took the loss. He threw just 4 innings, giving up 5 hits, 4 earned runs with 1 walk and 6 strikeouts. He did give up a homer in this outing, too. He threw 82 pitches, 52 strikes, and now has a 3.46 ERA on the season. So the biggest problem with that was the lack of length. Like I said earlier, the Red Sox can't afford to not get length from their starters because the bullpen already is taxed. Now you have 2 key relievers on the IL in Justin Slaten and Garrett Whitlock. So because of that, now you're looking at a bullpen that could use all the help it can get. So they can't really afford to have starters who aren't providing length. And Jake Bennett hasn't really been providing that length for the Red Sox as of late. Now, there are things I like about Jake Bennett. He definitely has a good arsenal and a good pitch mix that he incorporates. He has a 4-seamer, a changeup, a sinker, a sweeper, a cutter, and a curveball. So that's a strong 6-pitch arsenal that Jake Bennett utilizes. And that's great. And I like being able to see that he's mixing things up. But his locations have been off as of late. He hasn't been able to have command of all of those pitches. And the reason he struggled against the Pirates in that outing was because they were just hitting him. He wasn't landing his off-speed pitches in the right spots, and he was planting pitches right down the middle, allowing these batters to feast on those pitches. So the issue with Bennett isn't necessarily his inability to be able to throw the ball well with a good arsenal. It's more having control and command of those pitches, landing the off-speed stuff in the right spot to prevent opposing hitters from attacking those pitches. Now, the thing with Jake Bennett is that the Red Sox are trying to experiment and figure out whether it's more that he's been fatigued because of innings, because he's far surpassed now his career high in innings pitched. So that could be a result of it, that his arm needs more rest in between starts. So the Red Sox are trying to figure that out. And he's essentially the reason the Red Sox had a bullpen game last night. So what happened was, the plan was obviously for Jake Bennett to make his next start on time every 5th day, but the Red Sox are going to start Ranger Suarez tonight and Peyton Tolley tomorrow before an off day Thursday, which is their first game with no game since July 23rd. So that's obviously massive and much needed. That will ultimately line up Sonny Gray to pitch Friday's series opener against the Giants on 5 days of rest, and then Patrick Sandoval potentially going on Saturday in a similar scenario. The Red Sox plan to hold out Jake Bennett until the weekend against the Giants in hopes of giving him 8 or 9 days between outings. And Chad Tracy did explain that this was something that they were doing for a reason, because him having 8 or 9 days of rest may be super beneficial for him. They don't know yet, obviously, whether it's going to impact him positively or negatively. But Chad Tracy said it pushes Bennett back. Mostly we're going to push him back to the next series with San Francisco. He'll get 8 or 9 days of rest. It helps to do that, and it gives a couple of the guys behind him an extra day, gives them some rest, and we can back JB up. That's the plan right now. Overall, Bennett has had a very good rookie season. I've been really impressed by a lot of what he's done. In that 14 starts he had made prior to his last one, it was that 3.46 ERA that he had. So he definitely has the ability to pitch really well, but he has struggled as of late, allowing 3 or more runs in each of his last 5 starts, going 6 or more innings just once. Tracy said, I'm not overly concerned. I think he just left some soft patches in very hittable spots is all it was. They were obviously able to string some together. JB didn't get balls in the corner, but no, I wouldn't say I was overly concerned about that. So the hope for Boston is that Bennett will come back energized and ready to pitch as he did in his first 9 starts when he pitched to a 2.35 ERA. So that would be the ideal scenario. And the Red Sox are trying to figure out whether the issue is more that, or if it keeps coming back to that command issue, then obviously that's a mechanical thing that needs to be worked on. So the notable thing about Jake Bennett that's important is that he exhibits significant performance splits as opposing batting orders see him a second and third time. So the first time through the order, he's thrown 32.2 innings with a 1.93 earned run average, 183 opponent batting average, and 211 WOBA. So that stands for weighted on base average. It's a version of on base percentage that accounts for how a player reaches base instead of simply considering whether a player reached base or not. So the value for each method of reaching base is determined by how much that event is worth in relation to projected runs scored. So for example, a double is worth more than a single as opposed to it just being, okay, he got on base, so that counts. So for instance, in 2014, a home run was worth 2.101 times on base, while a walk was worth 0.69 times on base. So a player who went 1 for 4 with a home run and a walk would have a WOBA of 558, which is 2.101 plus 0.69 divided by those 5 plate appearances. So obviously there's math involved. I'm not a math person, but essentially the formula is that it indicates the adjusted run expectancy of a batting event in the context of a season as a whole. So unlike on base percentage and OPS, which is on base percentage plus slugging, WOBA assigns value to each method of reaching base in terms of its impact on scoring runs. So obviously if that number's higher, that's not ideal. So 211 isn't bad. That's pretty good, actually. Guys weren't getting a lot of extra base hits against Jake Bennett overall the first time through the order, but then it leaps the second and third time through. So the second time, 32.1 innings pitched, 3.34 ERA compared to a 193, 233 opponent batting average compared to 183, and a 268 WOBA compared to 211. Third time through the order, 15.2 innings pitched, 6.32 ERA, 311 opponent batting average, and 360 WOBA. So he's dominant early. He completely shuts down opposing lineups the first time around, but then it regresses a little bit in the middle the second time through, and then he has late vulnerability that he shows. So ultimately that tends to be the pattern a lot with Jake Bennett. So what the Red Sox are checking for now is to see whether or not the extra rest is the main reason behind that, and he can't handle the innings workload because he's not used to throwing that many innings. So taking a break in between outings, would that rejuvenate his arm and allow him to pitch deeper into these games? Or is it more that he just needs to continue to build up stamina, or is it mechanical? So they're trying to figure all of that out. But the reason this could be a concern is because the Red Sox are going to need their starters to pitch deep into games if they're going to rely on them moving forward. Now, if we were certain about Garrett Crochet coming back this season, I would say that Jake Bennett at that point is probably the odd man out. They would probably send him back to Worcester to get some extra reps in. But the problem is that Garrett Crochet is still pretty far from being able to start a rehab assignment. So I'm not feeling overly confident that he'll be returning this season. And if the Red Sox conclude that he can't come back, they're going to need all of their starters on deck to be able to make their pitching performances and be able to pitch every 5 days. So if Jake Bennett is super fatigued or he's not able to pitch deep into games, that could be really detrimental for a playoff run. So the biggest thing the Red Sox are going to have to figure out now is how reliable can Jake Bennett be down the road. There's no mystery about the fact that he has a good arsenal of pitches. And this is just a situation now in which they're trying to figure out how they can make the most of him and that impressive arsenal that he does have. Is he just not executing it that well, or is it really due to fatigue? Because the Red Sox are going to need Jake Bennett in this rotation to be reliable if Garrett Crochet can't return in September for a potential playoff clinching run. So to me, this is the time to figure that out. Figure out what's up with Bennett. Let's see if he ends up being rejuvenated after this extra rest and if it allows him to pitch better and pitch deeper into the game without the opposing offense jumping on him. So we'll see how that goes. But coming up, Wyatt Olds made an appearance in the Red Sox bullpen last night. Make baseball season more this year. On Kalshi, America's #1 prediction market platform, you can trade on every single game. So the way that this works is you go to Kalshi's website and then you type in whatever game you want to. So if you type in Red Sox, then the Red Sox versus Diamondbacks game for tonight will come up. And right now the Red Sox are trading at a 60% probability to beat the Diamondbacks. So that essentially means that a $100 trade pays out to $159.16 if they win. So it's a lot of fun because on Kalshi, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house. And as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position. Download the Kalshi app and use code LOCKEDON to get $10 when you trade 10. KALSHI. Kalshi. Trade on anything. 18 plus only. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Event contract trading involves risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Kalshi products are not available in all jurisdictions. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see kalshi.com/regulatory. It's a fun and creative way to make some money. So make sure to go in and trade on any MLB game, even if it's not the Red Sox. There are so many other games going on tonight. If you're feeling a little bit more confident in trading on a different one based on another matchup, I know the Dodgers are playing the Rockies, so do with that what you will. Red Sox Diamondbacks was certainly exciting last night if you're a Red Sox fan. 11-1 victory for this team, and they pounced on the Diamondbacks. Offense was quiet at first, but then they absolutely exploded with everybody from top to bottom contributing, and it was definitely ideal, although now I'm a little bit concerned about them using all of their offense in game one and not saving any for the next couple of days here. So let's hope that they are still able to hit in these next couple of games. But one pitcher that we saw in this game that we hadn't seen yet this season is Wyatt Olds, who came up from AAA Worcester and threw one inning for the Red Sox, giving up no hits and no runs with 2 strikeouts. He threw just 12 pitches with 9 of them going for strikes. And it was nice to see because this was a guy who finally got his opportunity. So it kind of came out of nowhere. Because the season's long, I know, and we're at a point in which you've certainly been able to kind of see a lot of turnover with teams, especially due to injury or guys being fatigued. So especially in the bullpen, when you feel like the bullpen's taxed, you're going to make changes. And the last few spots in a bullpen always seem to be a revolving door. And we've definitely seen that with the Red Sox recently. Raymond Burgos, for example, has come up to the majors a couple of times and been sent back down. And that was the case yesterday as well. The Red Sox announced that Burgos was being optioned down to AAA Worcester. And in response, they promoted Wyatt Olds to the major league team. So this was a guy who hadn't made his big league debut. So that was a special day for him last night when he came into the game. So who is Wyatt Olds? The righty was selected in the 7th round of the 2021 MLB draft out of the University of Oklahoma. Since then, he's been working his way through the Red Sox farm system, trying to get to this exact moment that he experienced last night. He reached AAA for the first time in 2024. That year, he logged a 6.09 ERA across 43 total appearances with AA Portland and AAA Worcester. His ERA number that year obviously wasn't great, but he did put up big strikeout numbers. He tallied 109 strikeouts and 78 in a third innings pitched in 2024. And then last year, he was better. He made 42 total appearances across AA and AAA and logged a 5.05 ERA. He racked up 77 strikeouts and 71 in a third innings pitched. This year, he has a 5.33 ERA overall and 39 outings with AAA Worcester to go along with 74 strikeouts and 50 and 2/3 innings pitched. So obviously, his numbers don't scream dominance, but he has continued to improve every year over the last 3 seasons, and that's what's key is improvement. He has a big upper 90s fastball and has been able to consistently strike guys out throughout his professional career to this point, which is something the Red Sox really like about him. Although the strikeouts have always been there, his command has been his biggest issue. Last year, he walked 50 batters in 71 and a third innings. His strikeout to walk ratio was 1.54, which is 77 to 50. This year, he has shown clear progress, though. He's cut down his walks and has a 264 strikeout to walk ratio, which is 74 to 28 in 50 and 2/3 innings pitched. So the Red Sox are adding a righty with big time stuff and trending in the right direction. And he definitely was able to impress in his outing last night. His arsenal primarily consists of a 4-pitch mix. That 4-seam fastball, which is his primary weapon, sitting around 96 to 97 and topping out at 98 with strong vertical movement. He also has a hard-breaking slider that comes in at 86 to 88 miles an hour with a sharp 10 to 4 shape, which frequently morphs into a cutter at higher velocities to miss bats out of the zone. He also has a cutter / 2-seam fastball that's mixed in a little bit to alter shapes with a 2-seamer ranging between 90 and 93 miles an hour, and a changeup that sits around 88 to 90, though it remains a lower utilized profile offering that he continues to refine for better feel. So we don't see that pitch as much, but if he has a 4-pitch arsenal, that's going to help him continue to find success. And last night, what I really liked about it, obviously 1, 2, 3, 9th inning, which was great for him, but he missed bats inside the zone because he struck out 2 of the 3 batters he faced. He struck out James McCann looking on an 87.6 mile per hour slider for his first career MLB strikeout and followed that up by getting Jordan Lawler swinging. And he showed flawless control and efficiency. After being historically plagued by high walk rates in the minors, like I talked about, he's completely filled the strike zone, needing just 12 pitches to cruise through the side without allowing a single hit, walk, or free pass in general. And he kept the ball on the ground. He induced weak contact for his final out, getting Tim Tawa to hit a routine ground out to third base to close out the game. So impressive stuff from him. If he can continue to do that, hopefully this is a guy that the Red Sox could see with potential to contribute out of the pen moving forward for a potential playoff run, but the Red Sox do definitely need to see more in that regard. But he found out through a prank that he was getting called up and he wasn't expecting it. So he ultimately ended up going and hearing from Woo Sox clubhouse manager Mario Oliveira that he needed a little help with something. So he said, okay. He said, they played a little prank on me. Oliveira called me at 12:30 like, hey, man, I messed up. I forgot to get somebody for this signing event. I'll give you $500. So I'm like, sure, I'm there in 5. I got my stuff together, headed over there, and Mario was like, hey, put on your jersey. It's just upstairs in the DCU club. So once he reached the DCU club, he found autograph seekers nowhere to be found, and instead it was Iggy Suarez, the Woo Sox manager, waiting to give him the news that he had been dreaming of since becoming a professional. He said it was a special moment to hear he'd been called up to the Red Sox. He said, I wasn't expecting it, but grateful for the opportunity. And he felt like it was still a huge moment, even though the pressure was off. And honestly, because the pressure was off, was the best way to do it. That was the best time to put him in when you're not having the game on your shoulders. So great moment for him. Hopefully we see more great moments from him, but exciting game for the Red Sox last night. Hopefully they can secure a series victory tonight. But thank you so much for making Locked On Red Sox your first listen of every single day. For your second listen, find the all-night Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all the way up until a World Series champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks so much as always. Keep the faith. Go Red Sox, and I'll catch you on the flip side.